Hey everybody, just a quick update before this video. Today we are dropping the first edition of our Sojourn art book. It's available at the Wayfarer tier on Patreon, which has been discounted to $35, and it's a 14-page digital art book with testimonials from the artist and storyboarders, as well as a full set of artwork from all of the first season. This first edition focuses on character art from Season 1, but we intend to follow it up with further editions at the same Patreon tier, covering ship design, Season 2 art, and landscapes and such in future editions. This is one of a few additions to our Patreon that's happening now. We're also working on some more things that will be added to the newly discounted Wayfarer tier in the near future, including a huge-scale digital map of Tantalus, which goes down to a planetary level of detail with little hand-drawn icons for major landmarks. That's being worked on right now. And also being added today is the new Trailblazer tier, which is something that a few fans have requested as a way to support the show in a much larger way if you choose to. This is a $500 tier, which gets you an honorary producer credit at the end of the next release of a full volume or season collection. You can follow the link in the description to find more information about all of this, and I certainly hope you'll check out the art book because there's some great little insights from Gab and Leon in there, and a lot of gorgeous artwork and storyboards to check out. Do have a look if it takes your interest, and in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this video.
In times of peace, the Sojourn Defense Force is outfitted for anti-piracy patrol, humanitarian operations, and system security. To this end, the largest warships to be fielded are generally third-rate ships of the line. Even so, such ships are largely ceremonial or intended for soft force projection, as their high cost and low operational flexibility makes their construction or deployment in large numbers unjustifiable in peacetime. Beyond even the cost of third rates, first and second-rate ships are exorbitantly expensive to manufacture and maintain, and are only ever constructed and employed in limited numbers during times of war. Most spend the majority of their service lives in port, unavailable for many of the actions that create legends. As such, few examples of each type exist in the CDF's 300 years of history. However, the specifications and designs for potential second and first rates are still developed during fleet modernization programs to be acted upon in case of emergency. In the opening weeks of 291 PCU, after the brutal raid on Axios by Arcelia Abiscal and the outbreak of the Frontier War, the Forest Administration directed Keeper's Dance Fleet yards to put one of these dormant designs into action and begin construction on an initial batch of 3 Temperantia Class Second-Rate Ships of the line. At a length of 451 meters and a depth of 103 meters, the Temperantia was the largest, best-armed warship ever employed by the Sojourn Defense Force at its launch. Featuring a staggering 8 25-inch Quarrel lock turrets, 16 twin-barreled 18-inch broadhead lock turrets, and 16 twin-barreled 10-inch broadside and chase guns, the Temperantia class is nearly unassailable when escorted by a well-organized task force. Learning from the shortfalls of the Tripathia and Troubadour class third rates when employed against Union outriders, the design of the Temperantia class was modified to add an extensive grid of 6.3-inch swivel gun emplacements, in addition to the typical chaff and flare launchers. The ship features 16 rapid-cycling torpedo tubes, capable of overwhelming any individual target of any size and class, and is propelled into battle by equal prograde and retrograde G19L DFDR engines. While powerfully armed and heavily armored, the immense mass of the ship limits its maneuverability. Its slow acceleration and attitude controls render it vulnerable to long-range kinetic weapons that any smaller ship could simply avoid. Like all ships of its size, a Temperantia-class vessel is almost never deployed alone. Its own complement of longboats allow for consistent defensive screening, and the ship is normally shadowed by a variable selection of brigs, postships, or frigates. Due to the more vertical slope of the primary hull, it was found that when rolled along the ship's length, 6 of the quarrel lock emplacements can be brought to bear on an approaching target. This maneuver is sparingly used, however, as the benefit comes at the expense of the firing arcs of its more numerous broadside armaments. Being that the Temperantia spends nearly all of its time at the center of the line of battle, significant internal volume is allocated to its centrifuge ring section. When under thrust, this ring's internal habitats lock in place and directional paragravity circuits engage to continue directing perceived gravity outwards within the ring. This fanciful system was drawn up during a time when the construction of such a ship was unthinkable. But when KDFY was directed to begin construction of second-rate ships of the line, it was the only modern, viable design on which work could immediately begin. While much more expensive and maintenance-intensive than it need be, the added comfort made the ship very popular with its crews. The first 3 ships of the class to be commissioned, the Temperantia, Dauntless, and Indefatigable, were constructed using the retooled facilities of the Valadar Gate Forge, as KDFY's shipbuilding facilities were yet to be fully refitted to accommodate construction of such large vessels. Some months following the Dolstaff campaign, the Frontier Union was able to seize the moon of Valeria Cebus itself in a decisive action, but was unable to capture the drift gates leading to Centrum or Vidara. With both gates under their control, the CDF maintained a supply train to support the construction of the new second rates. With the Union unable to dislodge the CDF from either gate, the southwestern front settled into a flurry of actions between Tandil's commerce raiders and the CDF's Force Southwest to protect the supply line until the vital second rates could at last be completed. This moment would finally arrive in the historic Battle of Valadar II. Having received intelligence that the second rates were about to leave the yards, Tandil and Lemaire's combined force were made to accelerate their plans and launch an all-or-nothing attack on the naval port of Valadar II before the powerful ships could reinforce its defense. With victory hinging on their ability to take the position swiftly, it fell upon Senior Post Captain Ariana Hawker and her squadron to lead a crucial holding action and withstand the Union attack long enough for Commodore Anthony Hadley to arrive with the newly launched second rates. Holding the position at great cost in a long and bloody battle, with a close friend of Hawker's to be counted among the dead, Squadron Hawker and the rest of Force Southwest denied the Union at every turn, holding on long enough for Hadley and his new ships of the line to cut off and rout the enemy. Remaining on their flank throughout the evening to inflict as much damage as possible during the Union withdrawal, the action which would finally break the Union's strategic momentum and bring an end to the Tandil rush. Deployed in limited numbers throughout the Frontier War, ships of the Temperantia class served with distinction through the conflict. However, their extreme resource and personal investment meant that the CDF struggled to operate them in post-war Tantalus. Though several Temperantia and Tetrarch-class vessels remain in service, a great many Temperantia-class vessels could not escape the jaws of the shipbreakers' yard, with nearly 2/3 of their number being dismantled long before their time, and much of their materials ultimately being repurposed for the construction of Edric's Gate. A rare sight during the war, and rarer still following its end, the Temperantia remains a respected symbol of the might of the Centran Defense Force. With the future of Tantalus uncertain, it remains in question whether the Temperantia class is doomed to disappear entirely, or if the war-weary second rates of Tantalus that still remain may once again be called to action before their commitment to the pages of history.